When I started out in this campaign, I thought, well, it was a rather impulsive thing. There'd be an opportunity to say a number of things which really ought to be said. And if they're not all necessarily complimentary, then it's my nature. I'm better at blasts than bravos. You have to follow your own bent. Now, it's happened with a strategy urged upon me to advertise in about 36 community and local papers, printing my own advertisements, and in fact the feedback has been constant and quite enthusiastic. So the menace of actually being elected is now suddenly looming before me. The unexpected turn of events. But let's face it, the voters are in a strange and ugly mood, and they may want a strange and ugly candidate. But I haven't lost sight of the original idea and mission that came back to me because of the squalid desecration of the U.S. flag at UMF. I have a second column on that subject. I got a lot of response from veterans. One man, an Afghan veteran, said that I made him proud to be American. I mean, what is he talking about? He made me proud to be American. What did I do except to speak on his behalf about this odd academic behavior? The oddest of all is to find an art professor who doesn't quite grasp symbolism. How could you be an art professor and not grasp symbolism? What on earth could you be talking about in your classroom except cartoons if you don't grasp symbolism? What this flag stands for, among other things, is the Constitution and the First Amendment. And that First Amendment does, in fact, by judgment of the Supreme Court, defend the right to defame the flag. It does preserve that. But that flag does stand for our friends, our community, our town, our state, our nation, our Constitution, all of it. And to be too stupid to understand a simple fact, such as that, argues utter incompetence at a professional level, apart from all the other things it suggests. It's time for us to remember this. We pledge allegiance to the flag and the republic for which it stands. The whole thing. And we think of that as the best part of that republic. Now, of course, there are fellow citizens who are so perfect that they insist on the nation being perfect like themselves. And perhaps it's best for them to secede, find some deserted island, and create their perfect society free of all guilt and sin. I personally would be happy to contribute to the fund to send them off there. My only idea is that we should also raise money to issue them all Kalashnikov assault rifles and 1,000 rounds of ammunition, and let them work out their little disputes among themselves. Because perfect people do have a propensity to raise a bit of hell among themselves, you may have noticed. So something you should all be aware of is you have to go out and buy the latest Bangor Metro. Has a fine spread, more volunteer work by an editor of undoubted talent. I just supplied the words, the phrases, and Bangor Metro did photographs, and I dredged up some, including one of the young John Frary, hatchet in hand, about 5 years of age. That was an early manifestation of my natural tendency. I was thinking about the budget of the federal government. Look at the absurdity of the situation we're in. You realize there are 50 bills before the U.S. Congress to deal with the oil crisis. Does anybody here think that any one of those 50 bills is going to lower the price? More show of hands? I didn't think so. Now, if they know so much about it, you would think they'd come up with 50 bills 5 years ago when this whole problem must have been crystal clear by then. Now, I've been advised by email to support a bill passed or proposed by a Connecticut Democrat. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to put an end to speculators. There'll be no more speculators. For the first time in the entire course of human history, there'll be no more speculators who simply deal in pen and ink. Well, I'm not an admirer of speculators. even though when I bought my house in New Brunswick, New Jersey, I was speculating. When I switched my stock shares to, well, I stick my pension to stock shares in 1978 because of the Steiger Amendment, I was speculating. When I bailed out in 1995, I was speculating. I could have stayed on longer, but it wasn't a bad time when you start thinking about retirement to get the hell away from the stock market and into annuities. It's all a matter of speculation. But think about this, just how idiotic this is. This takes contemplation. Speculation in a commodity which is an international commodity. All oil goes in and out of the same flow. Outlaw it in the United States, and what does it happen? Does it disappear? No. It goes elsewhere. Speculation goes on. Now, we understand the people, the oil dealers, complain about this. They see the supply and demand correlation doesn't warrant the spiraling prices. But that's not, speculators don't deal in current inventory. Speculators are guessing about the future. So how are we going to prohibit them from guessing about the future? Now, my only thought is, right here now, you want to knock the stuffing out of speculation is fairly obvious. I'm no more qualified, really, than Larson, who taught high school. All right, I taught community college. That's not a big jump. Was like this. If Congress of the United States and the executive proclaimed abruptly that they now favor exploration, extraction, refinement, and determined to remove all barriers, just delivering that message would prick that speculative balloon right there. It would take years to do it, but the speculative guess would have to end, because they'd be definitely under threat of production. But God forbid that should happen. Oh no, we're going to wait for wind power to save us. Well, thank you.
Thanks again, John. Thank you very much.